It's like inflation's a puppy that's running around your room and just occasionally it shits on the floor.
It's kind of like this dragon who just, the dragon disappears and it comes back and burns down your whole town or village like once every year, and it's just like, I can't do anything. It's a dragon.
Okay, here we are, back once again. Normal services resumed. The 4Bs brought to you, as always, by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Never Look, aka the Excellence of Execution, and Mrs. No Show, aka still not here, Mrs. No Show. So we're back, all three of us.
It's nice that you're doing the intro this time. I had to do it last week. I didn't like it.
He was all by himself until I turned up and then couldn't keep my video on.
Well, all by myself, as in my brother was also here. Young MBA.
Yeah, Young MBA. Shout out to Young MBA. Well done, holding the fort down.
Yeah, after I forgot to invite Dr. 10%. I thought he's on holiday.
I still turned up.
That actually shows real commitment, actually, that you weren't even invited to the call and you still got on it. that's
brilliant.
Well,
yeah,
I checked on my phone and went, oh, it is on. I'm coming.
How did your phone tell you that the meeting started or something?
Oh, no, I just went, I wonder if it's on. So I just clicked on the link and went, oh, they're talking. And you were like, is that Dr. 10%? Is he joining? Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Can't stay away.
Hey, the people wanted you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had to pick up Young MBA's shit talk.
Right. Well, since we were all together last, we've had a little bit of a fall. The Diamond Hands Club. Make sure they're all out and about.
Yeah, people are getting tested now, aren't they?
That's right.
Just today, the price starts of a 2 now, $29,000. That's yeah. I think it's like always, like it's psychological barriers, and like 30K was a bit of a barrier. Now we've broken through it. Who knows? Who knows how much we gush down from here? Because once those 30K hodlers have disappeared, then venturing in 20s. Guys, I noticed that actually earlier on today we went into 29, popped straight back to 32. You go, oh, is that the bottom? Have we bounced?
Okay.
And that 32 bled out back down to 29, and now we're at 29.1. It's close to 28. That was not the bottom. that was someone getting excited, thinking that was the bottom. It was not the bottom because we've already gone lower. But yeah.
Do you think people are actually selling and taking money off the table and actually losing money as well? Because a lot of people, I believe, will have gotten higher than this.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people over the last couple of years have definitely bought in above 30K. Yeah.
And see, they're FOMOs. They're just, they're people who just buy it because they're FOMOing, and they don't actually know what they're buying, do they? So when they see it going down, they panic, they sell. There's no, if you bought a stock and you've got it at a high price, you should have done your research. And it's the same people who panic will sell a stock, and it's exactly the same with Bitcoin. We bought it, so price has been going up, and they're kind of going, oh, I've got to buy myself some of this magical internet money. And it's gone down, they shit themselves, don't want to lose it all because it's going to zero, according to probably like Elizabeth Warren, Janet Yellen, or whoever else.
Yeah, well, we had a story in it last week where it said institutional investors, it was the biggest outflow of Bitcoin sales that's ever happened at that level. And at the time, it was my brother that brought it up, and I called bullshit on his story. It's like, this is just random FUD, because the price was still at 42K or something, and we'd been at 42K for about a month. And I'm like,
yeah,
how can this be the highest ever amount of sales from institutional investors when the price is pretty much completely stagnant.
Yeah.
Fast forward a week, we've gone 20 down 25%. Okay, there it is. there it is.
He doesn't come often, but when he does, he hits you with the heat and the truth, right?
Yeah. Well, I still think that article was bullshit because they obviously hadn't sold yet. So they've sold this week, which is where the price is ultimately, or maybe they were selling. Maybe they were selling. There was just a shit ton of buyers at 42K, and then they kept selling, and then that wall broke, and then fucking hell, once that wall broke at 42K, 40K, holy shit! Like the whole of the 30s just got evaporated in a couple of days, and now we're into the 20s. So
you've also got the big costs of living, the stock market's down, everyone's panicking, everyone's selling. Maybe there are some real life emergencies where they do need the cash now.
Yeah. Personally, I thought institutional sellers and buyers would be a lot stronger as well, in terms of they wouldn't really just react on emotion. They would just hold and look at it from a long-term perspective. So once they locked in and whatever price that they brought in, they would go for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and regardless of whatever happened, just ride it out. But it seems as though they're pretty fickle.
Yeah. Well, the problem is of institutional investors that they are doing it as a trade. That it's like it's not like putting it on the balance sheet. If you put it on the balance sheet, then you know what you're doing now. That's a long-term play. But institutional investors, they'll buy some Amazon stock, they'll buy some Google, they'll buy some Facebook, I'll buy some Bitcoin. And then they watch those things. They have people analyzing it constantly. And if they think there's a downturn, they just liquidate everything and go into cash, because they're not buying sound money. They're probably not even holding custody. So that's what we're finding out right now, is how many people FOMO'd in and how many people are just buying it for the gains, because that's how low we're going. Because you couldn't have more bad news now in the market. Like it's selling everything. Everything is just blood in the streets. It's recession. This is only the beginning. So everyone that's got some Bitcoin that only did it for the gains, they're getting out with a mindset, get into cash, and then buy stocks and Bitcoin and everything else back when this is over. And normally when like the sign of it over is when you see everything pump by 10, 20, 30% and like sustain it for a few days. You're like, okay, that's over. Time to get in. Looks safe now. And but obviously, they're not holding Bitcoin for the right reasons, though, are they? They're not buying it because it's sound money. They're not buying it for generational wealth. They're just trying to. It's a trade. So that's what we're finding out. We're finding how many people are trading Bitcoin, and at the moment, it seems about half of us, because the price is halved.
I always wonder why people don't understand that these things are cyclical. We're in a cycle right now, and that cycle of, okay, we're in a downturn, people are selling off. Yeah, it's going to happen. If you just ride it out, or if you've got cash on the side, pile in, then it is going to come back. And the reason why I kind of refer to a cycle is because ultimately it leads back to the book that we always talk about, which is Ray Dalio's New World Order. And ultimately, these things have all happened before. We've talked about 08, 09 in terms of that crash. Yeah, we may be going into another recession, but ultimately we're going to bounce back out of that. And if you're smart and you hold on, or you pile in right now when it's low, happy days.
Yeah. If you look at the chart, so I've just Googled it, Bitcoin price over 5 years, and it looks remarkably similar to 2018. So, looking at the repeat, it's going to be lower next year, if it was going to repeat itself. But ultimately, there's a number of factors which will impact it, and one of them being the impending recession and what's going in. So, the question is, what will people put their money into? Will it be one of the S&P, which is down? So I think the S&P is down by a few percent just today. Or are you going to put into gold, which is down? You're going to put into property, which was overpumped last year, so you're going to end up probably with a bigger fall. What are you going to put your money into? So I think it is a question for people. But then again, I suppose part of the answer is, do you actually understand Bitcoin, or is it just a complete punt? So if you do understand it, you'll stick your money in it. If you don't, maybe you'll buy some, I don't know what the
Never
hell
gonna
else
make
is.
it.
Maybe you'll buy what was the one called? Anchor? Was it the Anchor protocol? Maybe you'll buy some Anchor protocol or something like that.
And just to add on to that cycles thing, just zooming out even further than that, maybe we're on one of the 500-year cycles, and maybe this is the end. Like the fiat can only have so many crashes and so many recessions. Maybe this is the final one. Maybe this is where the pound and the dollar do go as close to zero as they can. Maybe this is the last one. Maybe they can't save this. Maybe they can't print their way out. And eventually, once people realize that, and the stock market doesn't come back, the strength of fiat doesn't come back, the flee to the only safe asset that hasn't changed and hasn't inflated is Bitcoin. So this could be it. This could be hyper Bitcoinization happening. This could be the very start of the last crash ever in fiat. It could be. Or we might have another 10 years of this where we get out of this one, pumped all-time highs, and then we crash again in 10 years, and then that's the end one. We know the final one is coming eventually.
You're absolutely right.
Well, you got that because, you know, the whole point about the inflationary monetary policies which we've got is it follows, Keynes economics, which is basically, in its purest form, it's meant to follow, you can increase your monetary flow if there's an increase in productivity or there's an increase in population. So no other reason, whereas currently we increase our monetary flow to make ourselves look more productive or also cover debts. So, we borrowed 1 billion last year, we'll increase the monetary supply so we can easily pay our debts. That's fundamentally what it is. So at the moment, like, it's so big, the debt, they keep on having to do it. So it is, you know, we're in that drug cycle. The government is on heroin. It needs to take bigger and bigger hits in order to get out. Literally, you could do I think what Safedine suggests in the fiat standard, which is gradually move over, probably best shown by what El Salvador are, dual currency, and then just offer bonuses for using Bitcoin. So I think it was petrol is cheaper, and also you've got the unbankables who can actually save their money now. But the problem which we've got is we keep on inflating, people can't afford to live. So it's easy. You can't eat beef now. Beef is bad. Cow farts will destroy the environment. So you must eat soy. So it's basically putting people onto cheaper things. And it's been seen, I was seeing a lot of tweets over the last week around how people are just getting fatter and fatter, which is a result of eating processed crap over the last 20, 30 years. And people are getting iller, more and more conditions. But now we're getting to the stage where people can't afford to heat their homes because it's becoming too expensive. So it's not only you getting fat and fucking stupid, you can't afford to actually stay warm. So come the next winter, you're going to be really fucking ill.
Yeah. I think over the next 8 years, humanity's going to have a choice because this is going to crash in the next 8 years. So we either move in 2020 or 2030 to the Great Reset, which essentially will be a reset of all this stuff. Well, they'll reset all the prices and they'll bring out some kind of, you know, CBDC, and it'll be a form of socialism / communism. People will either vote for that or we'll move over to Bitcoin. But there's going to be a decision. And if we move over to essentially global socialism, then the Bitcoin hyperinization is going to take a lot longer. We're going to be in 10 or 20
It's going to be some of the harshest times.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone seems to have got in their head about moving to socialism because it's better, we get to share. But every time it's been implemented, has it succeeded?
Nope.
But it wasn't done right. Well. I don't know what is doing right because you've got human flaws who will always try and take advantage. Currently, we're sitting in what's termed as capitalism, but it's not. Every bad part of what's happening is a socialist system put in place into capitalism. So it's printing money in order to have, say, benefit systems, in order to have assisted living, in order to have subsidies. All of those are parts of socialism. Funding industries, funding people because they can't, because they need help. It's having a massive government, whereas capitalism is tough shit, get on with it. And we have ended up on this massive heroin system as such.
Yeah. Well,
and so we go to CBD, but you go to CBDCs and it's like, so you're going to trust the politicians who have got us so heavily in debt we can't afford to heat our home in order to sort out the next monetary system. And also these people who are enriching themselves, their families and their friends into these millions and billions clubs. People need to think about it.
Yep. And you will own nothing and be happy. And perhaps from the start of, you talked there about the next 8 years, but perhaps it's been a 10-year countdown because it started at the beginning of 2020 or essentially March 2020. And it's just been ongoing since then.
In reality, it's since 1971. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's like fiat. We've had fiat for 500 years, but the last 50 has been its death. It's the final nail in the coffin started, because fiat was always going to have its time. Something better than fiat was going to come along, but fiat really did write its own death sentence, because they started, instead of just genuinely losing fiat for what it was and at least having it backed by something, humans did what they always do when they're in central control of money. They go corrupt, because as you just explained there, where what we've got at the moment is capitalism with a bit of socialism. It's exactly the worst type, because what happens should all that extra printed money get to the people that need it, because that's what they say. But when you really look at it, when you really check the receipts, the vast majority goes straight to third-party contractors. It's their mates. They're enriching themselves, but telling you they're helping you at the same time. It's like, we saw it during the pandemic in the UK, like 80% of the money that they printed, 20% went on furlough and got in the hands of actual people. 80% went to private contractors.
Well, what is it? 32 billion went on track and trace, which went mainly to contractors who are getting paid silly amounts. So, fundamentally, it should have been a call center and an app, which we could have set up ourselves. But somehow they managed to fail. And then as a result of that, they've had to put the national insurance up, and they've then had to promise 32 billion to the NHS over the next 5 years as a result of that. Whereas if they hadn't done the track and trace, it could have gone into the NHS anyway.
Yeah, it's a piddly amount of money, 32 billion. They printed $1 trillion. It's just...
Is there a reverse gear to all of this?
Well, not really.
Deflation. If you look at the dollar,
austerity, deflation.
They basically start removing monetary amounts which can be claimed back by the government. So they have done it in the past, I think, when they were still harboring the thought of going back to a pure gold standard. So if you look at the value of the dollar, I think it did happen early on, and then they just went, fuck this. We're having too much fun printing.
Yeah. Someone would have to stand up, because and actually accept the fact you're going to go through the worst recession humans have ever seen.
Yeah.
Because just the governments on their own, with the amount of taxes that they take, they can't pay for their own staff, never mind everything else. So the kind of cuts they would have to make, no politician would ever do it, which is why they know that's coming. They know those kind of cuts are coming. So they're blaming it on pandemics, blaming it on wars, saying that is why this is happening. And they're going, the solution is the Great Reset. We just need to kind of start from zero again. And then they're trying to get people to down on their knees to go, fine, just reset it. Hopefully I end up better off than I am now. And without them realizing it, they're going to get tied back into another system that a whole load of unelected officials that work in the World Economic Forum suddenly now are controlling what happens day to day. And
it'll be another 50 years of the same until it crashes again.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Real Madrid, Barcelona, that's where we all want to end up working for. World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
The Holy Grail.
I don't know. It'd probably be a slave, be taking around drinks or something.
Well, you're already a slave at the moment. You just don't know it, right?
Yeah. It's true. But the thing is, like, that system, the dangerous thing about that system is it might never crash, because inside a socialism/communism world, they've got all the power they want. So they literally have everything. They own everything, right? So you don't own your home, you don't own the cars, you don't own businesses. So that's why we see China, Cuba, these people stay in power forever. They're dynasties. And that's the danger of where we could move to, where money printing isn't really a thing anymore, because we don't have any money. They don't need to print anymore. They own fucking everything. So it's a really dark future that we could be going down, or there's a glimmering light of hope where all you have to do is opt out, and the way of opting out is convert your fiat into Bitcoin, and that is your personal protest against joining the WEF's global currency of global communism. We don't want it, and I think I
sent a meme into the group of the WEF. Actually, it wasn't a meme; it was just a screenshot of one of their tweets, which was basically living these tiny little homes.
Yeah,
and it's just like, but what is Klaus, Bill Gates, Trudeau, and everyone else? Are they going to live in one of these homes? Like, fuck, they are. Are they going to eat soy? Well, Bill Gates looks like he does, but I doubt the rest do.
That's some soy diet if he is, with his 20 car plus garage as well.
I was going to say, look at them titties.
Yeah.
These big double G's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we want to go on to the first story?
I was just about to say, let's hit a story off, and because it leads in quite nicely, actually, because El Salvador are buying the dip. Okay, so this is the first story brought to you by Mr. All-In on the agenda tonight. And as always, for any new listeners of the pod, all of the stories and all of the links are captured at the bottom of whatever audio stream that you may be listening to, or on YouTube as well, so you can go and check it out there. But El Salvador buy another 500 Bitcoin, meaning they now have 2,301 Bitcoin to be exact. So it's still not even a year, right, when El Salvador took on Bitcoin, or is it just over a year now?
Just over,
yeah, just over.
So that's over 50 million.
September 7th, that was right.
So they paid over 50 million for those Bitcoin in the dip. I mean, that's sizable for such a poor country, isn't it?
Hold on, no, 500 Bitcoin. The whole value is 72 million.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much 500 Bitcoin's worth right now.
So they go, sorry.
15. It's 15 million they bought.
Still sizable.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I just rounded it up at $30,000. And so, 15 million, an extra 15 million just spent on Bitcoin. So that's conviction right there. As we said, they're not a big country.
This is the kind of wonder, probably a comment which Mr. All-In said, which was around money, the world moving towards CBDCs. So we do have that, and we have a number of countries moving towards Bitcoin. You're going to have El Salvador as that kind of one poking its head above everyone else, going the right route, and they're going to have a shitload of Bitcoin, whilst everyone's scrabbling around to get their soy dessert or whatever it is. They'll be raising cattle over there.
Exactly, yeah. And this is a great sign, because obviously El Salvador was always going to be a watching brief. Did they move to a Bitcoin standard a bit hurriedly? Obviously they moved over in a bull market. The price only went up after they brought. Very easy to be confident when the price is going up, but when the price comes down, this is where your conviction gets tested. They're buying more. Yeah, and like I said, it's sizable, because they only had, say, 1,700 Bitcoin before this. So to add another 500, this is brilliant DCA from Bukulele, because he's brought about this price. I think originally he brought all the way up to as high as 67K. I think one of their buys was, and then he's buying on the way down as well. Yeah, and that's how you do it. You literally you set your target. You set kind of like your DCA days. You figure out about how much fiat you want to buy at these various points, and you don't look at the price, and you just smash buy. Whether it's 50 million, 15 million, whatever he's set out, just ignore the price, just buy. Keep stacking those sats. And it's the perfect way to kind of get to a point where you're immune to price. Because I think, weirdly, I think they're around on like where the price is now, that's around what their average price is. And you go, there you get, that's brilliant. They didn't kind of get FOMO at the top. They've been buying nice and consistently, like 500 chunks whenever, every 6 months or so. And it's a good way of doing it. And a lot of people could learn from Bukulele. It's very hard to do it when the price is going up. It's very tempting to go, fuck it. It was 45K yesterday. This week it's 55K. I'm going all in at 55. And then you fast forward 6 months and we're at 29. You're like, shit, I should have just DCA'd.
Yeah, we all go through it. It's the psychology of buying, isn't it, really? And having the conviction to just stick to the plan and don't deviate.
Yeah, I'm still DCAing. I get some cheap sats.
Good. I'm a chunk buyer, I'll be honest. I'm more of a chunk buyer. As you know, we've got DCA in a small amount in terms of putting Bitcoin on a balance sheet for the business, but personally, a chunk buy.
Yeah, see, it's every week, every Monday, automatically transfer some money across, and it has built up, which kind of goes with one of our further stories, which I won't go into now.
Cool. All right, shall we move on? So the next one is Giga Chad, Michael Saylor. He confirms he's not close to liquidation, even if Bitcoin hits $3,500. Now, for anyone listening and has had a head under a big ass rock and don't understand who Michael Saylor is, he is one of the longest serving CEOs of a Fortune 500 company, that being MicroStrategy. And he has his own personal wealth in Bitcoin, but also he put Bitcoin on the balance sheet for MicroStrategy and turned MicroStrategy's strategy into a Bitcoin standard strategy. So buying Bitcoin. And he says now he will never, ever sell Bitcoin.
Well,
right?
we're on the edge of a recession now. Things are starting to plummet. So it's to be expected. We knew when the government were fucking around with money, it was going to come back to bite us. And so he'll have been thinking of this already. And it's his number one asset. He knows it. Yeah. He understands it. He's waiting for it. So, he's just like, I won't sell. And it's his number one asset. So he'll just sit back and relax, be the Giga Chad.
I'm sure they've thought about it as well, right? What happens when the price absolutely crashes? How do we show conviction and solidarity to not panic and, one, buy more, but two, not sell?
He needs to post some memes. That's what he needs to do when it crashes.
And man, he was posting the McDonald's memes all over the
place. Have you got your application form?
Yeah, I got rejected. But yeah, because this is the thing, is the reason why this story is in here. It's a bit of a follow-up from last week, because there was an article or a series of tweets that kind of went viral that went, MicroStrategy have taken out loans to buy some of this Bitcoin, and these loans have conditions baked into them. And when Bitcoin hits certain prices, then is Michael Saylor going to be pressured to then sell a portion of his Bitcoin to then pay off these debts? What he's essentially done in the week that is now gone on since last week is confirm that no, he doesn't. And so he has taken out some loans. And just put this in context as well. Around the last story we were talking about, an entire country has about 2,000 Bitcoin. Michael Saylor's company, MicroStrategy, has 115,000 Bitcoin. So
what does he have?
You've asked that before, and he has said, doesn't he? I don't know what.
Yeah, he has said. I'll find out as you're talking.
Yeah.
What's his average buy price now as well?
Well, that's in this article as well. So his average price is around $30,000, and so he's now below. So he's now $1,000 below his buy price. But as he states in his tweets and his reference in this article, is he's only taken out loans for a small portion of his allocation. So most of it is just cash, just straight cash. There it is. And then there's this $205 million loan that essentially, and he has to keep 410 million. So double that amount in collateral. And because Bitcoin is dropping in price, all he has to do is move other Bitcoin that he has into that collateral. So he said, that's all I would do. I'm not selling any. I would just need to move it and put it as collateral to give the whoever he's loaned it from confidence that he does have the money. He went, even if we went down to 3,500, which at that point he would be like 95% down on where the Bitcoin price was when he took this loan out. He said, all I would do is move over more collateral. So this is as bullish as you can get from Saylor, because when the FUD first came out, it did make me think, well, this is a company. They've taken out company loans. They've signed contracts. Would they need to sell? It doesn't matter what Saylor says. If they want the money and it's written in a contract, say Bitcoin hits a certain price, you have to do X, Y, Z. What is the outcome of that? And do they need to start liquidating their Bitcoin? And this just proves this. What confirms that no, they don't. The loans they've taken are relatively small in comparison to their overall holdings. Saylor's got it completely in order. He's doubled down on I'm never selling. And so that FUD from last week, nice and confirmed that it was FUD. And Saylor's still a gigachad.
Love it. I'm just trying to see if I can 17,732 Bitcoin is his personal stack. Jeez. With a average buy price of $9,882.
Oh yeah.
That was as a call.
So he has, is that 404 million? I think that's right.
I can find out.
So 400 million of his own personal wealth is potentially Bitcoin, which is phenomenal. If I've got my figures right.
Yeah.
He's not all in there then. He's a billionaire. What's he doing?
Yeah.
Well, he's probably got quite a lot of his billions are stuck in MicroStrategy.
Yeah, I guess that's always the thing. Like whenever these guys say they're all in, it's like he probably owns 30-40% of a multi-billion-dollar business. So he's not really all in because he's got that business and it's bringing in revenue. Probably takes a wage. He's got all those shares. So, and if anything, the other thing that I wanted to say on this one was, this does just raise the point, because I know some Bitcoiners, as in on Twitter, that when Saylor was doing these loans, they took out some loans as well. They were like selling cars, remortgaging houses. And I think even we may have discussed it. And I just went, and even at the time I went, be careful with debt. Like billionaires, they can take out 200 million, it all goes to shit, and they've still got another 200 million out of their back pocket to bail them out of that problem. When normal plebs like us kind of take out 10, 20, 30, 50K worth of debt, and then it goes to shit. If you've got a random 50K lying around, you probably haven't. So just be careful. Like Saylor has a lot of good things to say, but the one thing that I would criticize him for, he's been too bullish on taking leverage and loans to buy Bitcoin, because that is not the right thing to do for 99% of people.
This is it. You know, in our situation, we've got family houses to house our families, our kids, and that's the kind of things which are taking equity against.
Yeah. You can't sell that house, can you?
No, I need somewhere to live. And my wife would be pretty pissed off with me if I put it onto Bitcoin and Bitcoin tanked. Yeah,
it's what we were saying about Saylor at the time. Like, even if, like, let's say he even lost his company, like he really fucked it, right? So he leveraged his company. It still doesn't matter. He has yachts. He has private properties, like mansions all around the globe. He's still probably got 200 million. He's probably not a billionaire anymore, but he's still got 200 million. He's not out. Like normal plebs, if you lose your house, that's it. You're down to zero, back to square one, got to build back up. He's not. He's still got 200 million, and he'll be a billionaire again in 10 years because he'll rework the 200 million back up. So it's just even though this is like obviously Saylor's got it all sorted, I think there's plenty of stories that we're not hearing about of smaller plebs that are in a lot of financial stress right now because they can't pay back.
I think once people like what's her name, Elizabeth Warren, finds out about stories like that, they'll be everywhere. You know, these are the kinds of stories which they want to put out there.
I mean, ultimately, you've got people like Roman Abramovich. You know, we've just seen that he's had to sell Chelsea. He's a billionaire, but he's not going to be hurting for money, is he? You know, that 1.5 billion that he's waiting for from the sale of Chelsea. He's still living nice. He's still got mansions, yachts, planes, you name it. But yeah, for the average person, I don't think through all of the interviews that I've seen from Michael Saylor that he's been remiss enough to tell people, do not follow what I'm doing. You know, his conviction is great to listen to, and you can watch any of his interviews on hope.com. But I don't believe I've seen enough from him warning the average pleb, don't do what I'm doing. You know, I can afford to look like the biggest fool ever in history to put both my own personal wealth and the company's wealth all into Bitcoin. You can't.
Well, this is why I'm Dr. 10%.
Exactly
Anti-risk
that.
on everything.
Exactly that. But
Yeah.
you've got more than 10%.
Maybe.
It's the kids won't eat next week, but you've gone more than 10%.
Yeah, it's one of them where I'm fine with going up to the 100, but it's one of those where with Saylor, he was starting to advocate just going 100 isn't enough. Like you should be going 110,
yeah,
20, 130 by leveraging the previous 100 to take out more debt and then buy more. And that's when I went, I missed it all in. And I think we even had this conversation on here. I'm not there. I'm one of the biggest probably risk takers that I know. I'm not doing that. I'm not going as far as Saylor because I don't have $1 billion business backing me up to pay that 30-40% off. If it doesn't pay back is when I thought it's going to pay back. So yeah, it's just a little word of warning, like be bullish on Bitcoin, but just keep it sensible. Yeah, you need to be able to like hold this for 5-10 years and be underwater, and it'll be right decision in the end. But just think long term, and if you're going to need that money in, because I know people are taking short-term loans like credit cards, and they're all repayable. They only have like 0% interest for a year, then the interest starts racking up. And
so what you're saying is make sure it's a 10-year loan.
if you can get a 10-year loan at 0%, mop it up, but you won't find one. So that's another thing actually with Saylor. He was getting long loans on 1%. It's not a fair example, is it? Because he's basically getting free money. And in that example, if I could get free money over 10 years at 1%, I'm going 200% all in. Absolutely. I can't. They're going to charge me 6, 7, 8.
With inflation, it's actually paying him back, providing that Bitcoin goes up.
Yeah, and at the moment it's gone down by 60% from last year's loan. So he'd have been better at inflation is the least of his worries.
Well, I tell you, somebody that's made a gamble, which is our next story, is Mr. Do Kwon, right? Do Kwon, chief exec and co-founder of Terraform Labs. So, essentially, Do Kwon is the CEO for Terra, which is a shitcoin, Terra USD, which is an unstable coin. And it's not looking good.
No, down 91%. And that weirdly, I think this article was written a couple of days ago and it was down 90%. It's since gone down another 90%.
So how much is it worth at the moment?
I think it's like $1 or something right now.
It's something ridiculous. Yeah.
I thought it was pegged to the dollar, so I thought 1 Terra was worth $1 originally. So what's it worth now?
No, it wasn't. Weirdly, I don't even know what's going on with this thing. It was supposed to be a stable coin, but weirdly, like the price shot up to like $200, went down to 10, and now it's. So I don't really know what's. It might be. The thing is, like, because the actual stable coin.
So looking at it, it's 68 cents, and so I'm going to look at. Oh, actually, a week ago it was about 99 cents.
Yeah, I got that. 99 cents, and it fell below $1, but ultimately it should be up around, is it 30?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Terra USD. Actually, maybe Terra USD is the thing that's pegged to $1. And
I think you're getting confused with something else. So it's
this is the same guy though. There's also Luna, And I'm sure Luna's in here. Maybe it's not.
So if we look at the all-time chart, I've just dropped it into the chat, but it has actually gone above the dollar, which is strange. Back in the 31st of January 2021, when it went to $1.04. But now, if you look at the chart, it's 60 something cents.
This is it, right? So I've just realized the link between this Terra and Luna. Every Terra is supposed to be redeemable for $1 worth of Luna, currently priced at $30. And the problem is Luna used to be worth $200. And at the time this article was written, Luna was worth $30. At the moment, Luna is now worth $1. So the problem is it's not backed by dollars, it's backed by Luna. And Luna has crashed in price.
So here we go, April the 5th. This year, oh my God, this year, £88.76. And then if we go to today, it's peaked a little bit. It's gone back up to £1.01. Oh my word.
But yesterday or 2 days ago, it's worth 10. And then
so when it kicked off, it was worth like 20 pence, and then it ballooned right up to 88 pence. So it looks like it's absolutely dying. I don't really understand the links. I've seen the stuff about Luna. I just went out, it's another shit coin when I saw it all over Twitter. I didn't know that it's linked in with Terra.
Yeah, well, we discussed it, right? We discussed Luna on here because at the time I was like neutral to it, going, well, it's a stable coin. We know potentially we do need stable coins before we hit Bitcoin hyperinization, because especially for trading and exchanges, when you are trading, if you're buying and selling Bitcoin, you need to sell it into something, and you don't want to sell it into fiat. So you want to sell it into a stable coin. And we've obviously got Tether, and we've got USDC, which is Coinbase's version. And then there's a couple of others. And then Luna came out, or this, I didn't realize it's also called Terra. And you go, okay, there's another example. Okay, let's just see how this goes. It's a stable coin. They're not trying to like pump and dump. Let's just see how it goes. But I think we're only a month or two into this. I think you said April there. And it's already over. Like, I don't know what's happened over there.
It's terrifying. Like, but I do look at this and think, oh God, I feel sorry for these people. But then the question comes back to, why did they buy it? It's gambling. It's like you should have bought a Pepe NFT or something. Just
they
risky money on some shit.
Yeah. And I guess for them, again, it was they can afford to make and take this gamble. And to the investor looking from the outside in, thinking, well, if they're prepared to put down so much money, I'll do the same. But as we know, that money that person who is trying to do the same means a hell of a lot more than the person that doesn't need to do it.
Yeah, because imagine being the trader that was trading Bitcoin, and then a month ago went, oh, actually, I think Bitcoin's price is going to drop, so I'm gonna play safe and go into cash. And by cash, they meant Terra, the stable coin. Now they were right. A month later, Bitcoin did crash 30-40%. You were spot on. Unfortunately, the stable coin you went into dropped by 90%. and that guy exists. I can guarantee there's someone out there that is exactly the case for. And they were right. They were right to go into cash and then trade back in. And they would be buying more sats now if they hadn't have sold into Luna and or Terra. And it kind of sucks, but yeah, we suspected he might be a little bit dodgy, because this guy was a kind of an OG Bitcoiner back in the day. He's then gone into shit coins. He then launched his own stable coin. You go, doesn't got a good history there. He's done a lot of shit coining. Let's just see how his stable coin works out. Yeah, it's all gone to shit. It's over.
Was that Udi?
Oh no. This is that Doc Wan guy.
Okay.
But go on. We should move on to your favorite lady. That's 10%, Elizabeth.
I just, every time I see her name, I'm like, isn't she fucking dead yet?
She's leading the battle charge against Bitcoin for the US government.
So this is it's for EFTs or pensions, isn't it? So she's begging, or rather telling Fidelity not to put Bitcoin in people's pensions. So I'm kind of going, the point which goes around my head is like, okay, you got a pension. It's meant to be bonds, cash, stocks, assets. It's all kind of like a balanced portfolio. So why not 1 to 10% of Bitcoin? That's my question. I don't understand. If you're happy, people are going to have all kinds of assets within that pension in order to build a balanced portfolio to catch highs, to go against the lows. So you need all these different assets together. So I'm a bit like, well, fair enough. Don't advocate 100% Bitcoin in someone's pension, but what about 1 to 10%? Why isn't that allowed?
Yeah, and I love that. In short, she says, investing in cryptocurrencies is a risky and speculative gamble, and we are concerned that Fidelity would take these risks with millions of Americans' retirement savings. But what happened 14 years ago in 2008? Did the banks gamble everyone's retirement savings and all their just savings in their current accounts as well?
Well, do you know what she's using as a main point to go against it?
Go on.
So in 2017, you announced that Fidelity had been mining cryptocurrency, stating we set up a small Bitcoin and Ethereum mining operation, but miraculously now is making a lot of money. So that is her reasoning, but it's a conflict of interest.
Oh, okay.
But
it's just it's like fine, like, yeah, of course, like Bitcoin's their business. Like Fidelity, yeah, they're leveraging the fact that they are Bitcoin friendly. It's not a imagine being like a conflict of interest, and there's her insider trading with her and Nancy being like, insider trading laws.
So Elizabeth Warren, if I'm not mistaken, she's done legal training, lawyer, I'm guessing, judge. And so let's have a guess here if you haven't seen it. What's her net worth?
Let's say 100 million.
Yeah.
Not far off. 70 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
from a politician.
But what's her salary?
It'd be like 100K.
Yeah.
According to quick Google search, it is 285,000. So if you think about that, it's taxed. She's, paying off properties, etc. So her investment portfolio, maybe if she's quite shrewd, she's probably putting 50 to 70 grand a year, which is a lot of money into an investment. But to get up to 80 million in US dollars is ridiculous. So what's her return? I know I haven't seen her on the same level as Nancy Pelosi at 69%, but this is someone who's telling you it's not all right to put your money in Bitcoin, but has miraculously managed to get this pile of money together, which her salary does not reflect one bit. So how has she got this information in order to trade? So it's just an example of one of the elites wanting to keep financial power in their little circle, not letting the plebs have some stability. We're not going to allow you to stop inflation against food, shelter, energy. We're going to make sure you're damn poor and you're happy.
this whole PDF and letter is just a complete joke. Like at one point, she's even referring to the fact that Elon Musk tweets alone have led Bitcoin's value to fluctuate as high as 8%. What are you basing that on, fucking Elizabeth? Like, yeah, okay, Elon tweets about it and maybe it pumps a little bit. How do you know that entire 8% was purely because of Elon's tweet? You don't. You're guessing.
I think we should talk about the US dollar and what happened over the last 2 years. So what is it? Because there's different types of dollars, something which I need to look into to understand. But what is the M2 monetary supply? It's 40%, which is basic money which goes into circulation rather than hidden away in the government. So they basically inflated your food, your energy, everything else 40%, but you're not allowed to invest in Bitcoin because it's a bit volatile as it's finding its place in the market.
Yeah, I love the question. Like the questions of like, I don't know who the doll is, Department of something, but like, why did Fidelity ignore Dole's serious concerns regarding the prudence of fiduciary decisions to expose a 401k plan, the direct investments in cryptocurrencies? And this goes on to, and then her last question is, how do you address the conflict of interest given that your company now mines Bitcoin and is selling Bitcoin? There's a whole host of questions at the end, and you can just see that one's the loaded little barb, which is, we might do you on corruption, but it starts with, hold on, we paid someone to tell you not to do this, and now you're still doing it. Why did you not listen? And they ask them a load of questions, and then the little final leaving line is, this could be a conflict of interest and could be illegal. Do you still want to do it? We might put you in prison. And this just shows, right? This is, when you zoom out of it, like what they're doing this for, what they're doing, they know retirement funds and Bitcoin, like these two things go together perfectly, because that's exactly what kind of Bitcoin really is. It is your retirement fund. It is generational wealth. It is something that you should pay into from the age once you start working right the way until you retire, and then that is the money that will hold its value and go down generation to generation. They're terrified of Bitcoin tapping into that market. The amount of Bitcoin holding pension funds, absolutely enormous. And once people buy that stuff, they don't sell it because they fucking can't. They can't sell anything in their pension funds. You can only add until you're freaking nearly dead. So they're terrified because this will be a new set of hodlers, and they don't want a new set of hodlers.
But this is part of being a circle, trying to make sure they keep their grasp on the monetary system, which is keeping them rich, which is making sure that Elizabeth Warren has 70 million, which is making sure that Nancy Pelosi has 200 million, both off a couple 100,000 salaries, which is
ultimately, that money goes out from where it is right now and what they can use it for as well. Because once it's locked up and tied into Bitcoin, it's tied into Bitcoin.
Yeah. And that's, in reality, I think they know that is what kind of underpins the S&P 500, because these huge pension funds and also their government bonds, they're all bought up by pension funds. So there's a kind of a ceiling on everything because these pension funds ain't selling because they can't. They got nowhere to go. And they do not want Bitcoin to have that same layer of just robustness where you're not relying on people that are essentially having to open up an account, buy some Bitcoin, hold it themselves. Just imagine if like 5-10% of people's pension funds, without them even realizing it behind the scenes, was just being scooped up in Bitcoin. And that would be terrifying to them. And it would shoot the price of Bitcoin.
But if you're looking at it from what's the correct term, like a holistic view for a pension, you want to break it apart into bits. So you've got your, if things go to shit, you kind of got your bonds, you've got a bit of cash, you've got Bitcoin. If things are going well, you've got a big chunk of stocks, and then you've also got some property in there. So it's basically that balance for looking for different things which happen in the market. So, I'm concerned you're going to do 100% pension if it was in people's pensions, but she's not even accepting of a 1% there, which just says it all. I think that's a really good point by you both around the fact that if the pensions buy into it, then it's becoming part of the mainstream and money's being absorbed in Bitcoin and it's not going away.
I think also as well, it's that fear factor, because you've got to remember that controlling the money is then controlling the individual. And if the individual has options because we've reached hyper Bitcoinization or just naturally the price goes up, people can retire early. And again, they're not in the system. More and more people can get out of the system. They can essentially do what they want to a lot earlier, and they therefore lose control of the individuals. Right, as you mentioned before, right now you're controlled because you've been brainwashed to get a mortgage essentially and settle down, and then you're paying 50, we're taught to essentially write a CV, pay 50% to the government in terms of tax, and then work until you're at an age where you're no longer good to us. So we'll take the new young bucks. Thanks very much. Have a nice life of what's left of it.
Yeah. And then PS, but when you die, we're taking another chunk.
There you go.
we don't want you passing too much down to the young people, because we need them suffering as well. If they get too much in easy life, they're not going to clean our toilets and sweep our floors and answer our phones. So let's just keep everyone as poor as possible, because
also another point around this is Elizabeth Warren, what she's 72, forgotten now, Nancy Pelosi's in her 80s, Joe Biden.
When you were at a birthday party last year.
They must have missed my invite. But you got all these politicians who are in their 70s and 80s, and these are representing on how the country should be built going forwards, but they're all at death's door. Why on earth are you trusting the future of the country to people who are nearly dead? You know, the politicians should be 30 to 40-year-olds, people who are planning for the future, for their kids, for their next 40 years, not someone who could drop dead within the next year or even the next month looking at Joe Biden.
And in reality, what does she even care about one pension fund maybe buying some Bitcoin? If you hate Bitcoin that much, there's a million pension funds out there that doesn't have Bitcoin in it. This is one. This is one fund. Why would you be?
But this is it is a slippery slope, isn't it? It's Fidelity.
Well,
it's
we know the real reason, but
it's not some random, I don't know, random pension fund called, I don't know, Pandas or something. It's Fidelity.
Yeah,
they know they know that the whole world's about to be orange pilled and their US dollar is going to zero.
Whose quote is it? Bitcoin is inevitable.
It might be Sailors. I don't know.
Yeah, pass.
That's how it feels.
It is. At this point, it is completely inevitable, because all you got to do is do the game theory on all this stuff. And the only thing I'm unsure about is the time frame. That's the thing that I can't predict. It could be
if
happening.
We get logged into CBDCs, it could be 50 years.
Exactly. It could be now. It could be in the next year, or it could be the next 50. Anything in between, but it is happening. I cannot see fiat lasting more than 50 years, or any great reset.
Yeah, even if in its digital form, because after I don't know, 10 years, people realize they got absolutely fucked over by the Great Reset, when the rich and the politicians have got even richer and more controlling, and the plebs are scrabbling around for food and heat.
Yeah, well, by about 2040, they'll realize that, the Great Reset, if that's what we end up doing, they've given them 10 years to go, okay, are we any better off? And they won't be. They'll be worse off. And they'll be wondering, hold on, did they lie to us again?
Again?
I thought this time it was different.
We invaded Iraq for those weapons of mass destruction. We invaded Libya to stop an evil dictator. They invaded Vietnam to stop the naughty people.
Nothing about the petrodollar.
Oh, God. The petrodollar. People trying to come off paying with a dollar. Oh, shit.
It's all there, isn't it? It's all happening, and it's all unraveling right now in front of our eyes.
If people will look.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that we were talking about, I think just before we went live as well, and one that I put on there is Argentina moving closer to Bitcoin. Is that right? Yeah. Argentina moving closer to Bitcoin and a Bitcoin standard. So not quite there, but two of the largest banks in Argentina are helping individuals move closer to Bitcoin. So Banco Santander and Banco Galicia, which is the second largest digital stroke online bank. So, we know about Argentina being a super volatile country in terms of their currency, seeing somewhere near 50% in volatility and inflation.
It's currently at 55%. Do you know what the annual inflation average over 100 years is in Argentina?
No.
It's going to be a lot over 100 years. Oh, average over 100.
Yeah.
So
per year, what's your average? And I'll give you a clue. they've had to change currency 5 times.
So I was gonna say like 20 because that's a lot, but is it higher than 20? Oh my god!
Because bear in mind, 5 times, which means that it's gone past 50% on all those 5 times on multiple years, and it's probably gone to hundreds and thousands because of how bad it's got. It's 105% average inflation per year. So this is, like we kind of talk about the Bitcoin standard, and I think we talk at quite a kind of high level rather than going to the deep side of it. But the reason why we believe in a Bitcoin standard is because you put a leash on the government, you stop their spending, you stop their out of control because they'd have to lend. What are you going to lend against? You're in too much debt. You want to inflate, you can't. So because they go, oh, we want to borrow, you can't borrow anymore. And Argentina is a prime example of that. So they inflate and they keep on printing and printing rather than curbing their spending and stop paying all their mates and the contractors. So that's where Bitcoin comes in, because it stops that out of control spending because they can't spend anymore. They can't leverage anymore because you can see what the income, you can see what the wealth is.
It's nuts. Yeah. Because the only reason I said 20 then to that answer was this is the published, like the official inflation numbers. So obviously they're higher, but if they're the official numbers, then even they're wrong because it's going to be even higher than 105. Then it's probably more like 200 because we know they lie. We know that they'll
I got it off some kind of like Yahoo News thing because I was searching around for a fuller article on this.
But it'll be almost definitely from their central bank. They'd have got the numbers from there. But I bet they've done the same tricks, right? Where they've gone, oh, right, meat's really expensive. I know, we'll just replace it with some soy burgers and go, there you go. Inflation's only 105, not 205 now, but everyone's eating shit, whereas before they were eating well.
So here's a great piece. Many economists are forecasting inflation to be more than 60% annually this year, and this will be the biggest devaluation of the Argentinian peso since the country tamed hyperinflation in the early 1990s. They tamed hyperinflation. So it's basically, oh shit, it's back.
I thought you trained him.
Yeah,
treats out.
Yeah. Inflation got into the room again. It's like the government didn't do this. They didn't print shitloads of money. They didn't go out of control their spending. It was inflation, which is pretty much what Joe Biden's doing at the moment.
Yeah, it's like inflation's a puppy that's running around your room and just occasionally it shits on the floor.
It's kind of like this dragon who just, the dragon disappears and it comes back and burns down your whole town or village like once every year, and it's just like, I can't do anything. It's a dragon. But what's most interesting about this is Bitcoin is more stable than the peso.
Yeah. Oh, easily. Yeah. If it's doing 100% fluctuation, and obviously the funny thing is about fiat, whenever like people talk about volatility and trying to measure it to Bitcoin. So yeah, but fiat's fluctuation is only down. It's down only. It never comes up.
Yeah. When was the last time which deflation happened in any country? Because I think in the US it was around about the 30s.
Yeah. Before 1971, probably multiple instances. After that, don't know. I don't think there is one, is there?
Never. No.
And this is a great quote from, apologies for my pronunciation, Changpeng Zhao, who's the CEO of Binance. There are 2 types of people: those who know that they need Bitcoin, and those who don't know it yet.
Yeah,
good quote.
Love that.
He's a shitcoiner, but it's a good quote.
Yeah.
And we've got Lightning Network. They announced, was it the Bitcoin conference or was it before that they're going to Argentina with their with their payments?
I think it's before. It wasn't at the conference, I don't think. Argentina weren't there.
No.
And another great little stat picked up from this article is some town called San Martin de los Andes. More than 40% of their businesses now accept Bitcoin.
Jesus Christ, that's crazy, yeah.
Interesting.
But it says it all. Like, they can't trust their government. Their government has destroyed their currency so many times. 5 times. Oh, we promise we won't do it again. Oh shit! It's coming in my room again.
Oh shit!
The dragon's back.
So do we believe that, we've got the likes of Argentina and what they're doing in terms of their volatility, and there are other South American countries in a similar position. I feel like they'll get to a Bitcoin standard sooner, and then they'll follow, ideally, an El Salvador model. And is it just
mean a dual currency?
Yeah, the dual currency.
It is the safest way. It's what Dr. Evil 10% would do. Bring it into a country as dual currencies, and then put kind of like bonuses and treats or whatever you want to call it in order to use Bitcoin to get people onto it without forcing them.
Yeah.
Although I must admit, like the second half of this bullet point, Dr. 10%, you added this, didn't you?
Yeah, so I saw it on Twitter flying around. It's like we've got this really positive story, then bam, who appears? IMF, central bank. Banned. You can't do that. It's banned. But
why do you think they've banned it?
If you had some kind of asset and someone's bringing a more superior asset and your asset is proven to fail, what's the easiest way to do? It would be go to the government, try and create a regulation to ban it, because you're not going to succeed, because you put those two in front of the people. Here's Bitcoin. How many are there? 21 million. Here's the peso. How many of them? I don't know. Maybe there's 1 trillion. How many are going to be next year? Maybe 3.
Yeah. So go for it.
It's similar to the Ukraine story, right? So Ukraine had the same thing where they embraced Bitcoin, and then everyone massively embraced it, started converting their local currency into Bitcoin. What happens? They have to shut the valve off and they ban it. They ban the exchange of their local currency into Bitcoin. And I think the same's happened in Argentina here, where there's an obvious market demand for sound money. So the two of the largest banks have gone and embraced it. They've seen a huge rush to these services. It's probably already been happening over the last couple of years anyway. People switching out their Argentina pesos or whatever it is into Bitcoin. And this is obviously expediting hyperinflation. And the government are desperately trying to hold it out for a couple of years. They know it's going to come anyway, but Bitcoin essentially is speeding it up because people have an option.
Well, so I think you've got the government interests, and the government may be starting to relent, but in 2017, Argentina received a 44 billion bailout from the IMF.
Yeah, there you go. So
because since then, locals have been converting a lot of their salary, potentially up to 20%, into cryptocurrencies as a better store of value. So literally, if you put it in Dink Doink or some random crypto, you're probably more likely to keep value than the peso.
Yeah. I think, certainly in those types of countries, even though it might to us seem like a gamble, theirs is an educated gamble that we've seen it for long enough. We've seen countries around us also fail, and their currencies fail, and the volatility of their currencies. So it now makes sense that we need Bitcoin, going back to your quote as well. So for them to do this is actually the smart thing, and I think the masses have caught on. Over here in the West, we just haven't, because we think that everything is all okay, will be looked after. The government wouldn't ever do that, and it can never happen to us.
Well, everything's starting to shift, isn't it? If you think about the energy problem or energy crisis, as we're terming it, is, I can't remember what I was paying a few months ago, but when I tried to commit to another year, which is the maximum which they give me, they wanted to quadruple the amount of how much my gas and electricity was going to cost me. And most households cannot afford that. So it's coming. It's just that places like Argentina are already there. And a lot of Africa is, a lot of South America is, probably quite a lot of Asia. It's just the richer countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there we have it. Argentina, one to watch. We will, this is my personal request, is to do a show on some of the countries which we believe need Bitcoin ASAP, and to move to like the same model as El Salvador, but also to go into the background as to why they need it. So, once upon a time, Argentina was a super rich country and wouldn't have necessarily been in this position whatsoever. And
it was
now,
only 100 years ago.
Yeah,
it was only when all this started kicking off.
Yeah, less than 100 years ago, they were absolutely fine. And again, it just shows how quickly it can go from everything's all hunky dory, fine, to where they are right now as well.
It's a corrupt government, isn't it? Why do you need to print that much currency?
Yeah.
Let's move on to a Bitcoin lesson. I really like this next point, which is put here by Dr. 10%, which is what is a dusting attack? It's a good article, this, and I'd be interested to know, like, if from this article, can you figure out actually what the attack is? Because essentially,
so it's where they put a small amount of currency, but I don't think it works on Bitcoin. Because I was having a read around this.
It does work on Bitcoin.
Oh, it does. Okay, yeah, that's how little I know. So it's where they put a small amount and they try and trace the account. So it's looking at wallets of whales. So they wouldn't be looking at plebs like us. They'd be looking at Mr. All-In, the $1 trillion man.
How would they trace your account? By putting money in it?
See, I just don't know. I didn't find.
Well, I guess ultimately you would then be thinking, oh well, I've got a little bit extra. I'm going to take it out. Therefore, taking it out, they may KYC you on the way out, and of course, then linking it to your account. Bam, we've got him.
But if you play that through, this guy, they're whales, right? They got 10 million plus. A dusting attack is you put less than 1 penny of Bitcoin into your account. They're not cashing out a penny.
They're not cashing that out.
I know the answer, by the way. I'm just seeing if you.
I did come onto this pod wanting the answer because I didn't fully understand it, but it was submitted. It wasn't actually my story. It was one of our listeners, the Everyman. I think that's what we called him.
The Everyman, of course it was, yeah.
The Everyman, nice.
So the way this is an attack, right, is there will be KYC'd addresses that you have. Now, with Bitcoin, you can have a wallet with a huge amount of Bitcoin in it. But the addresses, each time you use an address, what the good practice is use a different address each time, which I must admit, in my head, that was very confusing when I first got into Bitcoin. I thought, hold on, my Bitcoin address is a single set of digits, right? And I can only send to that one. But then the more you use Bitcoin, the more you realize, oh, I can have a different address each time, and it still goes back to the same registered amount of Bitcoin. So what this dusting attack can do is they have spotted someone that is committing probably some kind of criminal offense or whatever, and they have a Bitcoin address for them. But they don't know how much Bitcoin they have, because when they searched that address, it was the first time it was used. So it just doesn't go anywhere. But what you can do is, because they know that this is like, say, one of your addresses, they send it Bitcoin, and they can send it a very specific amount of Bitcoin at the end. So say you can send it, say, 3,126 Satoshis. Then they have a look to go, which wallet did that hit? And behind the scenes, the little address you gave me, the first time you ever used it, no history on there, but it hits a different wallet that has, say, 1,000 Bitcoin in it. Now I know that the account that you used to buy some drugs off me, and say, I'm a FBI plant, you bought $50 worth of drugs off me, but I suspect you're a whale and I want you for big organized crime. Because you bought $50 worth of Bitcoin off me, with that address, I dusted it, and I traced that back to a massive wallet that had 1,000 Bitcoin in it. Now I know you're the guy that owns that Bitcoin. And what they would do is wait for a transaction to happen on that big account and then nick you and go, we know you have access. We saw a movement happen recently. We're arresting you for criminal gains, And So that's the way it can happen, because the missing bit of information this article does not cover, and it surprises me about Gemini not really educating kind of properly. It assumes a lot of additional knowledge that is not in the article, is that a Bitcoin address doesn't have one address, it has multiple.
But how would you get the person's identity off that?
Well, they would have tricked you into it. So
from the drugs.
The first transaction, they've got you on one. So they know you own some Bitcoin, and they suspect you of something, but they can't peg a large amount of Bitcoin to you yet. So they get you to do one transaction. They get you to KYC somewhere and do a small transaction. Once they have one of your addresses, then they dust it and they see where it leads. And then it leads to a bigger honeypot later on.
It's so like a digital Trojan horse, isn't it?
Yeah, if they don't know any of your addresses, then it's just pointless. It doesn't do anything. They need to know at least one of the addresses, either the one or the big one or the smaller one. What it could be is they might have a load of whale accounts which they do know the identities for, but there's also a load of transactions going on some website or whatever, and they dust all those and see which ones match, and then they tie them together. But like you said, for normal plebs, they don't give a fuck. And it probably only matters if you're doing criminal activity. But it's a good little thing to know about.
Is this a common practice?
I think our favorite freaking chain analysis and government agencies. Yeah. There's you can see on the blockchain, and weirdly, I did have an account that got dusted, and some small amount of Bitcoin hit it. I think that might have been a scammer, and I got a tiny fraction, literally like 37 satoshis or something, hit one of my random wallets. I was like, what the fuck's this? This happened years and years ago, and so obviously I got dusted a little bit there. But as they say, they kind of do it mass. They don't know which account maybe is the one they're looking for, so they just dust thousands and just see which one hits. And it was more common practice, I think, a while ago. But now I think that was before like KYC was as prominent. But now it's so hard to buy Bitcoin without KYC anyway. They kind of know what Bitcoin you got. But I got dusted back in the day. Yeah.
I want to pick up on that as well, right? So this came from Gemini trying to educate their customers, and as a group, we all recently did the lessons, and I use that term loosely, from Revolut as well. These lessons, they're not really that good from any of the exchanges that I've seen so far. I mean, Coinbase has lessons as well, which are linked to providing you with whatever shitcoin that they're promoting that week. But they do also have lessons of what's going on in the cryptocurrency space, which I think are pretty good. I've read some of them and they're pretty good, but they don't really go into much detail and depth to be able to give the user enough knowledge. So where I'm going with all of this is take any of the lessons from the exchanges with a pinch of salt, because I don't feel like they are actually giving you the full info behind it. Because I'll be honest, I read the article, and similar to Dr. Evil 10%, I was still a bit like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So, a lesson is to leave you with the knowledge to be able to understand it and ideally teach it to others.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I actually think the person that read this article doesn't understand it either, because I think if you did understand it, you'd have mentioned that very important bit about Bitcoin addresses being different for the same kind of allocation of Bitcoin. But we discussed all the other lessons last week, and I would go further than say, don't just take it with a pinch of salt. Take it as complete misinformation and bollocks. Click next as many times as you can. Take the free money, convert it to sats. The more you read of that lesson, the less informed you are.
Yeah.
It's actually worse. Like, not only do you not know now, you might know something wrong. That's worse than not knowing. At least before, if someone asked you, what is decentralization, is what is a blockchain? Your answer of I don't know is better than what they say it is, because that is categorically wrong. So do Bitcoin lessons, not shitcoin lessons.
I've learned all sorts of things about things like, what was it, stellar lumens and polka dots.
Yeah, hopefully you're not retaining any of it though.
No, I was going to say something, but I can't remember the fucking thing. I remember like the one on Revolut last week. It had some weird things.
It's got a relay on top of a blockchain, and then you give it a BJ under the HJ, and then the relay blows the HJ, and then it jizzes onto the chain of the blocks, and then profit.
Yeah, I was just having a look because I've done loads of lessons over the last year. Obviously, I can't do them recently on Coinbase for some reason. I remember I ended up with a little bit of compound because it managed to, I think, change the value whilst I was exchanging it. So I'm left with 0.0008419 of compound in my wallet. And I was thinking about buying some just so I could exchange it, but I didn't want to buy any. But looking at it, my compound is worth 0.
You got a bit of dust. You know what? That's actually really annoying, because if you ever want to close that account, they won't let you because there's dust on the account.
It was at its peak, it was worth £647, and now it's worth £55. And obviously, I must have got this as a free shitcoin towards the top.
And it's too small to convert.
Yeah, I can't even. Yeah, there's no way which I can just go bin it.
Yeah, it's worth less than a penny. Yeah, and the problem is you can't close an account with a non-zero balance. So even though it's reading a 0, it isn't. It's whatever that 0.0001 is. Like that is an amount of money, and it's I've seen numerous people have the same problem, and they've gone to close their Coinbase accounts and stuff, and they've gone balance needs to be 0, and they've done some shit coins, and it's like, you really want me to buy like £10 of this shit coin just to then sell it again to take the less than a penny out along with it? They're like, yeah. Oh my god, like, no, I don't want to do that. It's like you're going to get more fees in that process. But
that's where the money's made, isn't it? Though.
Oh yeah, it's all about the fees. That's why they put, when you really distill it down, why do all these exchanges and all that, do all the lessons? It's because they want you just to randomly buy it and sell it, because that's what they make all their money on, which is trading. They don't make any. That's why there's no lessons on Bitcoin, because they know what happens with Bitcoin. People buy it, send it off the exchange. They make one fee on the buy. That's it. You never see us again. On shit coins, you buy it, you sell it, you buy it again, you sell it again, buy a different shit coin, sell that. They love shit coins because everyone's in and out of them.
Yes. Very true.
But talking about Coinbase, our next story is exactly that. And this is a very good lesson. Someone took a look into the 10Q of Coinbase, because they're now a listed company. They have to do quarterly statements. And someone dug into this document, and they saw what the conditions were if Coinbase were ever to become bankrupt. Now, obviously, they're nowhere near bankruptcy, but just in case, what would happen? And what it says in this document is the custodial crypto assets will be considered property of a bankruptcy estate in the event of bankruptcy. So the crypto assets we hold in custody on behalf of our customers could be subject to bankruptcy proceedings. So as a layman, remove all the could be, they will be. So this is crazy, right? Because this really does say that if Coinbase goes bust, even though they're holding your money, the people that would be liquidating their assets are going to include your money as theirs. They're taking it. So it's another reason for not your keys, not your cheese.
So I've ended up with some money on Coinbase from just my DCAs, and it's built up over time. So I'm one of these who's guilty, but I do need to pull my finger out and just move it.
Yeah. And it's probably, it's a nominal amount in terms of things in the grand scheme. However, you want it, the more you can't have it. So as and when you can't get hold of that money, you're like, okay, this is wrong, because I should be able to get it whenever I want to. So yeah, convert it, get it off, put it on the ledger, stick it away, and lesson of the day: not your cheese, not your keys.
Or the other way around.
Not your keys, not your cheese. Yeah, I've got a little one. You know, she's been keeping me awake.
Yeah.
I've seen you drifting off a couple of times tonight.
Yeah, it's hard.
You're still here. Those eyes are getting heavy, aren't they? I can see.
They're getting very heavy.
It's why he had his camera off earlier for a power nap.
Yeah,
I wish would have been a good one, actually.
We just got 2 shitty stories now. They're just funny, so we can rattle through these.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So the next one is Shitcoin Corner. So this is about, what is it, Anchor Protocol. So it's one which came on my Twitter feed. So it's from some TikTok investors.
It's going to be good then, right?
Oh God, I listened to it. My first thought, he says, "Right, I'm going to buy this house. It's some, like, what's it, 1.4 million?" And he's like, "Okay," and he's put down this deposit, which was like 200 grand, and then I need to pay payments of 7 grand a month. So I'm going, first of all, you look about 20. Where are you getting 700 grand from, or even 200 grand? So that's a bit of a question. Obviously, he hasn't done any of this. And my kind of question is, if you got 790 grand and what's it called, Anchor Protocol is so good at yielding, why not buy 100 grand home in somewhere like Alabama, go and live there and live off the yield like a king? Yeah, I think this is a difference between crypto and Bitcoin. So you've got Bitcoin who have that time preference, whereas a crypto enthusiast is typically all about consumerism. So wants these kind of things which will impress people who they don't like.
Digital flex.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at this, it peaked at $6 to get a 70% yield, which would apparently pay the mortgage off that 500 grand, which he didn't put into the mortgage. So he put 200 grand as his deposit, and the 500 grand he put into Anchor Protocol to get sorry, did I say 7% or 17%? I can't quite remember. Yield off this, which will then pay his mansion, which will then result in him owning it and still having a 7 grand a month income off Anchor Protocol. But it peaked at $6. It's now 23 cents. So I'd love to know what kind of return he gets on that. And what the bailiff, if he did actually buy it, what the bailiff said to him as they took away his mansion and gave him his cardboard box.
Yeah, I bet he tried to go, no, bro, I'm just going to need to hodl and the price is going to come back and the yield's going to come back. Because what's happened, like, this is a bit of an old video, but it's obviously being reposted now because everything's crashed and it's all gone to shit. These people just, imagine just getting these types of interest rates, because, yeah, it was like 20-30%. So he was making 7.5 grand a month, which is his mortgage payment on this £1 million property. And you could just see that, yeah, this lad's about 20. He's obviously made some money, however he's made it. And he just thought that this is how the world will work. I can just put this money into this account that doesn't even pay for the house in total, but it will pay for the house over like a 20-year period, guaranteed. There's no chance this yield farming that is at 30% a year is going to go wrong. And this 7.5 grand that came out maybe 1 month is going to continue coming out forever. And of course, the music stopped about 2 months later and the whole coin goes to shit. The percentages of yield farming over the last couple of weeks have crashed because all these coins have realized we can't keep up these massive yields, keep going out, because the coin crashes in value because we're printing so much of it. It's like they haven't learned anything from fiat. Of course, if you inflate the supply, the value of the coin goes down. Of course it fucking does.
That's not how inflation works. it suddenly creeps onto your room and bam!
It's just a dragon that just comes in and shits on your floor and flies off again. You're like, goddamn dragon.
It's transitory though, right?
Yeah, the shit just
it's actually good.
Eventually.
It's not transitory anymore. It's actually good.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And we should get used to eating the soy and living in boxes.
Yeah, what was it that Biden said today? That inflation isn't a weakness, it's a strength. Fucking idiot.
Biden, yeah.
Anyway, we've got a UFC fighter here to end it, and I have no clue what this freaking this guy was talking about. It sounds like he's just high as fuck after his fight. He's on like the adrenaline's pumping. He's freaking going, and so he's just.
I was gonna say it's hard to defend him after this because we're both UFC
is he a big
fans.
fighter?
No, he's just fighting on an undercard of an undercard. So I didn't even see this fight. I watched this card, but he was on so early I didn't even see him.
Yeah,
So he's a no one. But yeah, but it's in the UFC. So admittedly, I say he's a no one. He's made the UFC, which means he's probably in the top 1,000 fighters in the world. So fair play to him. But as he's doing his little victory speech, he kind of blurs in. He's launching an NFT that's going to change the fight game. Oh, and by the way, I've had herpes twice. And you just go.
Well, it was actually.
I think these two things are correlated. I think NFT and having herpes is a common theme.
Well, he actually said that I think it was he lost his last fight because he'd done 30 all-nighters in a row before it in order to make this NFT. So I'd love to know what the NFT is. I'm hoping it's like Stick Dicks or Cryptozoo or something. The fucking quality of it was like some really low-res paint job with an NFT. And then, as well as it, he had 2 herpes outbreaks in the week before the fight. And so I was just like, you probably wouldn't have to do 30 all-nighters if you weren't getting herpes somewhere.
Like, you're sure you're making NFTs on these nights out, not shagging random women and getting herpes? Like, come on. I don't think you can catch herpes from NFTs, although I'm here to spread that FUD. Like,
if you're going to watch or read any of the articles from this day's pod, make sure it's that one.
15 seconds of just pure bliss and joy. As always, for me, I find that the tea is always in the comments, and reading through the comments is fantastic. It's always good.
I've actually done that for comments in this. I missed that.
Yeah. Oh, that's where I go straight away after any article. I'm all up in the comments.
Get this man a Valtrex sponsorship ASAP.
Yeah.
He's done it all. Name one fighter that's done what he's done.
Well, yeah, having herpes twice in a week and launching an NFT. I can't name another one. I think he's done it all. The GOAT.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair play to him.
Well, there we have it. Back to normal service, as I said at the beginning of the podcast. The three of us, Dr. Evil 10%, the People's Champ. We also have myself, Sir Neverlook, the excellence of execution. And then we've got Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, bringing to you the 4Bs, the best podcast out there when it comes to Bitcoin.
Look like you're about to go to sleep.
Oh man. Your eyes are so heavy right now. You nearly forgot your own name there.
It's hard out here. I mean, I'm doing it till like 1 o'clock, and then I'm like passing her over, and then I'm doing work. But it's all good. I'm surviving.
Fair
but
play,
I'm not
man.
making NFTs.
Dedication for turning up for this. Fair play.
Yeah. Trust me, when you go through it, you'll know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going for it ever again.
But we forgot someone, of course, right? Mrs. No Show.
Who's that?
I can't even remember who Mrs. No Show is.
I think Mrs. No Show doesn't turn up to the pod, but turns up to our Christmas meal.